what they call Beef Week 2024, which is up in Rockhampton, Queensland, Australia. So today is the Tuesday the 7th of May 2024, and this is going to be our first live broadcast from up here since we've got back to Rockhampton. So we just wanted to run through a few things, seeing as how we've got a lot of new people who are on the case, and new people are looking at the information that we're bringing to you and saying. So we wanted to make sure that everybody knows precisely what we're about. We've spoken to a hell of a lot of people here already in the last day or so, and it's good to give people an overview. So this is what we're about. So at the end of the day, we wanted to start to talk to people about what I call the global picture, or the big picture. That's the stuff we're talking about. Why is your farming going to be wound up? Why is your agriculture going to be wound up? And in particular, one of the main things is meat. Why is your government and why is the World Economic Forum in the business of winding up your meat production, the beef industry and red meat generally? And what we're dealing with is, over many, many years, we've had a group of people who have been very rich and powerful and influential, have decided that for reasons best known to themselves, they want to reduce the world's population, and it currently stands at just over 8 billion people, and they want to bring it down to a population worldwide of 500 million people. So that very simple equation means they need to get rid of 7.5 billion people, and that's what we're dealing with right now. So why are they doing this? They obviously have reasons best known to themselves, but we want to look at and why we're here at Beef Week, and why, as a third generation farmer, I'm very interested in our food production and our food security. These people intend on shutting down food supply as one of the strategies that they want to use to get rid of so many people, 7.5 billion in fact. They want to start to starve the world population. This is one of the tactics that they are intending to use. We've had a lot of other tactics. All the climate change stuff is involved in this. All the so-called pandemics, all the injections, the so-called things that they give you to help keep you safe. This has turned out to be rubbish. These have turned out to be lies. We've got a whole heap of things that they are using as attacks, and we want to talk about specifically today the agricultural sector. So just to give people an overview, the people we're talking about, for example, the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization and the United Nations. People might think that many of these are in the business of trying to help them, to keep them healthy and to keep them safe, when in fact the exact opposite is the truth. They are not here to keep you healthy or safe or anything of the like. So these people over many years have got their supporters, their ideology into a lot of our governments throughout the world. And a lot of the governments throughout the world make policy, they make legislation, they make the rules and regulations onto exactly how this affects industry and business. And what we're seeing right now is that the agricultural sector has become victim to these very policies. Many of them are called climate change. Many of them are called getting to net zero. Many of them are called we must reduce our carbon. And a lot of the environmental stuff is what we're talking about here, to the point where we've had some discussions over the last couple of days of people here at Beef Week. Many of these people are involved in they're trying to sell us all the rubbish, all the garbage about climate change. They're in the business of trying to push words like sustainability, like caring for the environment, like trying to make farming viable, trying to get to net zero, all this rubbish. And this is a part of a plan that is designed to wipe out our agricultural sector. And what we're doing here today, and for this week, for Beef Week, is to try and educate and get people aware in the beef industry given that this is supposedly Australia's biggest beef showcase. This is the beef capital that they say in Australia. So therefore, we are pushing to try and make the industry participants, and in many cases the leadership, understand exactly what's happening, understand that their politicians who are here are not their friends. We hear, we've heard from the Queensland Premier, we've heard from the Prime Minister, here talking up the beef industry in our agricultural sector, saying how they're going to invest more money in the next beef week, which happens every 3 years, trying to tell us how Australian beef is the best in the world, and trying to tell us how they're so sustainable, they're opening new markets, they're developing new technology, when at the end of the day, the whole time they're doing this, these politicians are in fact working for the World Economic Forum. They are in fact working for the UN and the WHO, who are in the business of shutting us down. So that's what we're talking about here, is to give people an idea of why we're here, who is behind what's happening, why our food generally and our agriculture generally is being shut down. But as this is the highlight of the beef industry every 3 years in Rockhampton, Australia, that's why we're here. And just trying to give people an overview as to, we get a lot of people say, so what exactly is happening, and why are you here and why are you saying the things you're saying? Well, this hopefully will give people an idea as to why that is, and will give people a bit of an idea as to good on you, mate. Give people a bit of an idea as to the whole problem, and we will be talking to many of the producers. We'll be talking to many of the financial institutions. We'll be talking to many of the people who are in the so-called climate change area, and lots of the people who in the media who are providing information which is just simply misleading. And we're trying to get to the industry leaders to say, why are you not telling people in this sector that they are in extreme danger, and in fact their entire industry is about to be collapsed deliberately by people who are very powerful, have a lot of money, and people who are in the government sector, the politicians, and many of the major political parties are all committed to the likes of the Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the reducing the carbon emissions by 2050, or now they're talking about 2030. So, this is very, very serious stuff. This is exactly why we're here, and this is what we will be talking about for the rest of this week. And we'll be bringing you a lot more lives now that we've started here. We've got to meet some people on the ground. We've got to know some of the players, and so we're going to be doing a lot more. We must say that we've had a lot of good conversations. There are some people who are switched on. There's some people who are awake, but at the minute they're too frightened to say anything because they don't want to stick their head up. They don't want to get the flack and the pressure from other people in their cohorts, other people who would ridicule them. So that's one of the reasons we're here. We've got the Billboard Battalion bus here just outside the gates, so that plenty of people are commenting now on that. So it's really, really good to see what we've got going, and we will be bringing you a lot more information. And it's very interesting to understand the dynamics and the demographics of the people who are either on side or not on side, or do understand or have no knowledge. And I would probably just finish up by flagging one of the things we're going to be talking about a lot this week in our lives and commentary is that many of the people who are pushing the climate change rubbish or this sustainability garbage, all that sort of crap, when you talk to them about the likes of the World Economic Forum, the people who are so intensely pushing this stuff have got no idea of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, the Great Reset. They've got no idea in the world who they are. They don't know anything about it. And this is one of the major problems that we've got going on, is that so many of these people who are supposedly advising our agricultural sector and our communities generally on what's happening have got no clue. You know, they have no information. They're pushing a line with only a part of the knowledge base that they need. And, you know, some of them get quite testy, to say the very least. When you ask them, have you heard of these people? Do you know what their position is? And this is going to be a very interesting time. We've already had some very interesting conversations. So I'd say watch this space. We're not here to try and antagonise people. We're here to have respectful discussions, to have respectful conversations. And I must say that, a couple of the people I've spoken to here today have, when you talk about this stuff, they've got that really, really bad smirk on their face, and they start to get, give you that, oh, that's a load of rubbish, I've never heard of that sort of stuff before, and it's just conspiracy theories, etc., etc. And there is the problem right there. So, we're going to have an interesting time here. I've asked some of the people on the environmental side, are you interested in doing an interview or perhaps even we'd live stream a debate? And at that point, the arrogant look pretty well disappears, and they're very serious. Oh no, I don't think no. We couldn't do that. We need to know who we're dealing with. Well, we're an open book, mate. When you want to know who you're dealing with, Billboard Battalion, Wade Northhausen, that's who we are. We're up front. We don't hide behind anything. We shoot straight. And having said that, I must say that we've had a couple of the politicians today who have had things on their pages and about their social media where many of our supporters have sent us links or they've made comments on these politicians' personal pages. And it's rather interesting to understand that these politicians who supposedly represent the public appear to have taken down many of these comments. They appear not to have public comments on their page or scrutiny of what they're saying or anything else. So, there's one there that I believe from the Premier, the Queensland Premier. We had information was put up on the Queensland Premier's page, and I believe that around about 70 comments were made, of which the majority have been removed. So I know from my point of view, my comments were very honest, very straightforward, very direct, and completely back-upable, where I challenged the Premier. I said I'm happy to meet with you to discuss how the Queensland government is singing the praises of the beef industry while at the very same time in the business of destroying the beef industry. So, these are genuine, honest comments of which people, really need to know the answers. They need to see that invitation to the politicians to discuss their policies and what they do and the effects of it. But as we're seeing, many of the politicians are very frightened. Our fearless Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, there's been comments that were put on his page, comments that we've put up there, and once again, they seem very quickly to have disappeared. And one of them was some comments made by a young bloke to Anthony Albanese, and that also seems to have disappeared. So it seems these politicians, in my opinion, are barefaced liars. They are deliberately lying to the people. And when you try and call them out, or you try and say, hang on, let's have some accountability, let's have the option to ask some questions on behalf of the Australian people, these politicians run for the hills because they are not working for us. They are working for international terrorist organisations, and they are in the business of shutting down not only our beef industry, our red meat industry completely, our farmers, our society, our food security, our energy supplies, and everything else that we need to live. So on that note there, I might call it quits, and I'll hand over to Nick. Nick might do a bit of a 360, just give people a bit of a look of what's happening here. We might just walk around, do a bit of a circle here, Nick. So this is what we've found here, where we came in at the main gate. This is where we've got the different pavilions here, and they have got a lot of information there, and a lot of people in the industry are talking about, you know, genetics and stock and fertilizers and all the sort of things that they use for their for the beef industry and, you know, agricultural in general. So we get around over here. We've got a few other media crews here who I have spoken to a couple of them. They don't seem to be very interested in talking to people who might just tell the truth. So you would think that, you know, we've got camera crews and so on, that it'd be interesting to do an interview with them and not just run the rubbish that, you know, everybody says, oh, it's all great, it's all fantastic, it's looking good, you know, we've got the best of the best and all this other garbage like that. So, you know, I understand Australian farmers do have a terrific product, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's whether or not that product can survive, whether or not the productivity and the ability to farm can survive. So therefore, we've spoken to a few of the people in the media. They've got a crowd running around that's supposed to be meat TV or beef TV or something like that, who don't seem to be very interested in talking to people about the truth and the facts. We've spoken to a few other media outlets that are supposedly talking about, you know, the beef industry and also the sheep industry and the grains industry. So it'll be interesting to see what feedback we get from them. You know, they talk about everything in these industries, so it'll be interesting to see what feedback we get from them and if they give us a bit of a go or if they're just in the business of selling the lies, selling the garbage. We'll speak about them in a lot more depth coming up probably tomorrow. We'll also talk about the hierarchy of whoever's running Beef Week, because once again we've seen a lot of problems there in so much as these people want to push what appears to me to be a very, very false narrative, one that does not wake people up. But anyway, we'll keep going, Nick, and just we'll do a little bit more of a circle here. Over here, back that way, yeah. We've got the NAB stand, the National Australia Bank. Some of the big financiers in the agricultural sector and many others, industries and businesses and so on. But I'll go and have a yarn with National Australia Bank, as I will with ANZ and Rabobank and Bendigo Bank and anybody else we can find here, and ask them some of the questions that, you know, I've been saying to Billboard Battalion supporters for a long time about who's funding this, who's financing it, and why they're not warning people about the disaster that is coming. So anyway, we'll just continue around here in another couple of seconds, and then we'll call it quits. We get around here. We're back to the main gate. We're back to the beef cow here, and if you stop there, Nick, I'll just back up here, mate. Go over this way a touch, and this thing, it's a silhouette cutout of obviously a beef cow, full of flowers there. We've got it right in front of the Beef 2024 signage up the top here. So, you know, we're very interested to see whether there'll actually be a Beef Week 2027, which I'm pretty, you know, sceptical about, because we're having a lot of information that's saying they're trying to, you know, get all this carbon stuff from that shut down. And as we know, our farmers are public enemy number one from the position of the politicians and all these other people who push the climate change lies and fraud and the agenda. All right, mate, we'll knock it on the head there. Thanks for that. Thanks to everybody for watching and listening. We'll be bringing you a lot more information tomorrow. I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens, and very interesting to start to report back to people some of the specific comments that are made by our financial institutions and by our supposed industry representatives. And yeah, it'd be very, very interesting to see what's coming back to us. All right.